Welcome to the first Illinois CRR Learning Lab live webinar. We're planning to have quarterly presentations that will provide uh, valuable education and resources to your community risk reduction programs. For today, lithium-ion batteries are increasingly linked to fires across the waste and recycling system and in the communities that your firefighters serve. In this webinar, Genevieve O'Sullivan explores the Skip the Bin, Turn Your Batteries In national PSA campaign, highlighting real-world results, community engagement efforts, and how education and prevention can help reduce battery-related fires nationwide. A Washington State native, Genevieve, or Jen for short, her background includes policy and campaign work, as well as public and private communications positions. Jen received her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Western Washington University. She loves being Irish, spending time in Ireland any chance she gets, and thanks to her upbringing in the Pacific Northwest, is an avid fan of the Super Bowl champ Seattle Seahawks until next year when the Bears win. She also enjoys comfy flannel and still loves a good Pearl Jam concert, as we all do. I wish they were on more often. So anyway, I will get out of her way and I will let Jen take over.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I'm going to pull up my presentation here, get it up in front of everybody. And into presentation mode. Okay, I think we're good to go. So thank you for having me today. I'm excited to share insights and like everybody I speak to, these are kind of real-time updates, which is great because this is an evolving, really exciting campaign. And I should have known that when I kicked this off, because this was born out of a conversation during the interview process a year and a half ago here at the National Waste and Recycling Association, that this was going to be all consuming. And this really has become such a huge part of my job, but it is such a huge issue for the waste and recycling industry specifically, and obviously you all feel that impact as well. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about what we're doing. This is just a nice little smattering of everything that was outlined about my background. I think it's really important to just find shared values with people. So I'm sure everybody loves wine. I'm a baker. I love some Legos. My husband and I got married in Ireland. We're standing, like, we took our annual selfie in front of the church when we're back for the holidays. Also saw Pearl Jam in Dublin. That was kind of a pretty fun excuse to go to Ireland. I was raised by my parents who really instilled this idea of civic duty into me and my brother. My dad was actually a volunteer firefighter until he retired probably 10 years ago. So, and he'd been an EMT as well. So definitely got a background and a love of all of the work that you all do. I think it's really important just to share a little bit of background. We did a lot of research into what people understand and don't understand about batteries and the challenges with disposal. And we did this over the course of both listening sessions and then message testing sessions, because the whole goal was to figure out, we always tell people what we think they want to hear or what we want them to know, but we really got to figure out where they're at so we can meet them where they're at and communicate effectively about this challenge. So these are some of the awareness gaps that we found as we went out and did focus groups across the U.S. So most participants are unaware of the serious fire risk posed by lithium-ion batteries. Now, this is continuing to evolve because we did some baseline testing, polling, because we want to start tracking kind of the impact of this campaign. And what we have found is that there are actually, in the last year, people are more aware of fires happening. Part of it is we've seen a lot of issues on airplanes. So people have actually heard about fires starting on airplanes because of lithium-ion batteries. So they're a little bit more aware of that. There's more house fires. There's more media around what's happening. And honestly, a lot of our members are becoming very public about the fires that they have in their trucks and at their MRFs and at transfer stations. So there's a little bit more awareness than there was when we did this about a year ago. This testing happened about a year ago. So we're hearing more recognition as we go through. People don't understand that there are places to drop off batteries. The biggest question we get is, but where do I take them? So we do have a battery finder on our website, and I'll talk a little bit more about that website coming up here. And that is tied into the Battery Network, who is our partner in both our take back efforts, as well as we utilize their tracker because they have the most locations of anyone, and they are specifically for batteries. If you get into a couple other websites, they'll have hard to recycle. You can figure out where to take stuff, but the problem is that it covers too much stuff, and we really want to focus in on those batteries. We really found that sentences and phrasing that emphasize the danger of improper battery disposal, then followed up with how you can avoid those dangers, resonate the most. So when we say skip the bin, turn your batteries in, we're actually giving them the here's what you shouldn't be doing and here's what you should be doing. Now let me tell you how is the next step. And it's resonated really well and continued as we went out and did that polling of that logo. People were very much engaged in that. And it was a very positive logo. In fact, we had 80% of respondents just rated it very high and positive, and they liked the wording. And it did come out of that research that was done. The other piece is that talking to people about not only the dangers that fires can pose if they're improperly stored at home or improperly charged at home can be, but if they put them into the waste and recycling stream, that it can endanger their both their drivers as well as people working at the MRFs and transfer stations, but also their local firefighters. That was actually a very resonant way, and people wanted to take a more positive step. They were more willing to do the work when they figured out that they could actually endanger someone's life. So that was a good thing to learn. And then we also avoid using the word recycle when we talk about battery recovery and correct disposal, because people cannot disconnect recycle from their curbside bin. And so what that does is it just basically gives people, oh, I recycle it. Okay, I'm going to put it in the recycle. So we've honestly, it's more within our industry that we've had a challenge with people using that term battery recycling. We can say that if you recover and dispose of your batteries correctly, they can be recycled. We're good with that. It's just we want to avoid that connection for the consumer of putting them in their bin. So we kicked this off technically in August. We did 3 markets. So we did Washington State, Illinois, and Washington, D.C. So I've got some statistics. We did 3 take back events specifically to try to engage with folks in these markets. Now, these markets were specifically chosen because each of these either had existing EPR legislation that was already in place, was about to promote or present or introduce that new framework within the state, or is in the process of rulemaking for that process. So Washington State was our first event. Washington is in the process of rulemaking for battery disposal in Washington State. I'm being a Washington State native. I worked for the state. I actually still have a lot of connections there, including family and friends. And so was actually able to not only get the word out that way, but we actually spent a fair amount of money to promote this event in the Thurston County area, which is where the state capitol sits. And we had budgeted 10,000 and actually stopped at 9 in social media, targeted social media, because we'd hit saturation. And you can tell by the statistics. Not only did we bring in almost 1,200 pounds of batteries in 4.5 hours, we engaged with 300 people, and we had almost 17,000 people visited the website. And for us, that's, I mean, the population of that area is somewhere in the 150 to 250,000 area. So 20,000 visits to that website and people staying on there for 2 minutes was a big deal. So that we learned right away that the more you invest in promoting the events, the more likely you are to have a successful take back event. Now, the battery makeup was several different chemistries. we got lithium ion, but it wasn't like a huge, like it was, there were a lot of alkaline, there were other chemistries as well. But we also found that because of the way we promoted it, we had state agencies that actually put boxes, knowing that it was going to be at the state capitol, put boxes in the office and encouraged people to not only dispose of stuff at their desk, but bring them from home. So we had great engagement on that. Next, we did American University in Washington, D.C. This is not an easy to access, as the Capitol steps were not either. People wanted to get there. But American University, D.C. is like its own interesting kind of dynamic because it's trying to get people to basically leave their neighborhoods where they live or work to show up somewhere. And American University, we did it in the middle of campus, and then we actually had a drive-through location on the edge of campus so that we promoted it in the DC area and residents could also drop off easily. We engaged more than 350 people, so it was a large education opportunity. And then we actually got 400 pounds there at American University. And again, we didn't invest a ton of money in it, but we did get a couple thousand views on that website. And like I said, the more we promote, because unfortunately social media is now really driven by promoted posts, paid for posts, the more we get. And then we did our last one on December 30th at Navy Pier. So day before New Year's Eve at Navy Pier in Chicago. And we still saw 400 pounds of batteries, and we still had a ton of engagement because of just the activity there. Some people were tourists, some people were locals. It was still worth doing that event. So now we're in 26. So what are we doing? So we have one animated PSA that is available, and it's on our batterysafetynow.org website. That PSA is just a really basic fun. It's kind of a throwback. You'll feel like you're kind of like flashing back to childhood if you're over the age of 40, because it's Woodsy Owl and his friends, and there's a jingle, and it's very engaging, but it talks about skipping the bin, turn your batteries in. We're also now doing where are the pressure points within the waste industry, as far as like where are there danger zones along the path of a battery. And we're focusing in really on lithium ion without telling people that. We're talking, it starts out talking about really like power tools. So father and daughter building a birdhouse with their power drill. The drill runs out of juice, battery's not charging anymore, dad goes to throw it away, and we get our educational moment. So we're doing a couple more this year, but those are we're hoping to get them placed with earned media for broadcast and get those out. We're doing educational video content. So we're talking to safety managers at our MRFs, talking about the opportunity to educate on kind of why it's so dangerous to end up with batteries going through the recycle system. And then we've obviously been engaging in really kind of honing our take back event assets. We were talking about it before we started. We've got our Airstream trailer that is wrapped in the campaign, and I'm going to show that in a little bit. One of the things we discovered is there are places where it's really effective and places where it's not really worth it, and it is a like undertaking to haul the Airstream to different events. So we're really focusing in on those large things, and we are talking about the Illinois State Fair now, which we're excited about. We're working with folks like you and others to engage in partnerships. So how do we work across kind of this value chain that is everyone with an interest in this topic, and make sure that we're not only getting Woodsy out there, because it is important to have that hook and really capture the zeitgeist, which was the point of doing Woodsy Owl as our spokesbird for this. But really engaging with everybody and letting them know that we have the assets they need to push out. We'll be working across more earned media. So that's out of home. So billboards, bus shelters, and all that. And then of course, broadcast platforms. And then we're doing things like I mentioned, the Illinois State Fair. We're also going to be working, we're doing the MLB All-Star Game. We're likely to do some NFL before games this coming fall. We're talking to Major League Soccer. So lots of opportunities to engage in a very proactive way, do take back events, and engage the public at large. So we launched officially in January at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. We did this very purposefully. The idea was, where are some of the most prolific battery users in the world? And really, they are at CES. This is the people who want the new toys, the tech, everything else. And we also realized it was a really good place to start conversations with companies that are doing embedded batteries that can't be removed and therefore are very difficult to dispose of. So we started a lot of those conversations. We had a ton of media out of this. I don't know that I could have expected how good this would have been for us, but the fact that we had 400,000 views across YouTube videos of different influencers and engaged with so many different reputable forms of media, but just getting it out there and people seeing Woodsy again started to increase recognizability and get our message out there. So the other thing that was really important was we saw a huge upswing in our engagement on our website that week, as well as through social media. So the QR codes scanned during the week of CES are all people who just organically at the booth wanted to find out where to take their batteries. And that was engagement that we were pushing, because it's kind of the, let's make this useful, easy for people. These are just some of the partners that we started conversations with, and we're continuing as we continue to move forward. So lots of interest talking to Batteries Plus. They want to become an engaged partner and take back partner, which is really good. And then of course our battery producers, which the more conversations, and then also those companies that are making those embedded products. The other thing that just happened, and we just announced this 2 days ago because it just went public, but Exhibitor Magazine does a best of CES every year, and they do the top 20, and we were indeed number 20. And our competition was LG and Panasonic and people who spent tens of millions of dollars on their booths. We did not. It wasn't, like, for us, it didn't seem cheap, but this booth was one of those things where we told the story. We were analog in a whole world of digital and just engaged. So the lines you're seeing at the Airstream is an interactive engagement. We invite 2 people at a time to come through. They have 60 seconds to identify and count every single battery operated item they can see out in the open. And then they take a quiz, and if they get Wise Owl, they get a special prize. So we engaged in that way, and we had a line at our booth the entire time. We were on the floor for about 8 hours a day, 4 days, and that's how engaged people were. But they were excited and interested and wanted to know more. And we had a lot of conversations. So it was absolutely awesome. And with over 4,000 exhibitors, we were pretty happy to be in the top 20 booths there. So where are we at today as we've kicked off since January? We're seeing still really good pickup on our website. And we know that when we do events and when we promote events, that's when we see better pickup. We're continuing to invest in paid promotion as we move into March. And we'll kick off, we're doing both internal events and external events. So we're working with partners, and we're also working with our members. This is what we've seen since we launched in January. So this is what we've seen, impressions across social media. We're at 200,000. And our engagement rate is at 3.2%. That is people liking, commenting, sharing. And that is stuff we love to see as we go out with our message. I think it's important to recognize those people who are sharing. This is just a collection of folks. Evergreen Disposal, I'm going to point out, because this last week they had a really bad truck fire, like a hot load that they had to dump. And they had pictures that just, I don't know how big the battery was, but I'm guessing it was pretty big because the entire load went up quick. And they redirected back to our site as an educational tool. And that is our goal, is to get everybody doing that. So as we do our events, we're doing multiple kinds of events, and we are booking up. We're the next couple months. I was talking earlier that I think I have I have almost 50 hotel room nights between now and the middle of July just because of these events. So we've been doing things like just Woodsy educational outreach. So this is an example of like basically Woodsy going to the Cleveland Cavaliers and hanging out down on court in between periods, doing pictures with attendees. It was a great event, but it's literally just like Woodsy showing up and us handing out some stickers and some bracelets. And then we do educational pop-ups, and these are without a take-back event. This is just for the purpose of getting out in front of people. We have tents, we've got tables, we've got giveaways, we've got handouts, and we really just talk to people and direct them towards the website. And then we do our take-back events. This is an example. This is the Olympia example. And we get pretty good media engagement with those take-back events because people want to know where they can go. And then we also, like I said, the Battery Network, we were working with them. We bring one drums in. The one drums are really great. They can hold up to 500 pounds of batteries a piece. And you don't have to do anything to the batteries because it's fire suppressant. So you're basically making a battery parfait, which is just a great way to kind of move forward with those things. And then we have, of course, our Airstream, which we've talked about. So that is basically the background of where we're at. I'm happy to take any questions and answer anything. And I will jump out of this right now. Stop sharing. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen. Looking forward to having you come to Illinois and working with you and get to the fair and what any other opportunities we have to get the word out with Woodsy. The people that are on the call, is there any questions anyone has for Jen while we got her with us? I think it's really a good opportunity to work this into everyone's community risk reduction programs because it is a current and growing threat. So anything we can do to kind of curtail that and make life safer for everybody would be great. Not seeing any hands
wondering if anybody wants to come off of mute and ask a question.
Then I'll ask a question. What's some of your advice from your guys' side, or what have you seen is a problem that maybe folks in communities will encounter with these batteries? You know, what they're throwing in the trash can. What are some things that they can do to help maybe message to their community?
So one of the things we're doing, because we are working, yeah, I'm happy to share the slides too. I can get those over in PDF format because there's a lot of pictures, so that it's huge. So sorry to answer Betsy's question. So one of the things we're doing is we're actually going to be at we're going to IAFF and we're going to NFPA's conferences. And one of the things we're doing is we're working to create a version of all of our resources that exist that have kind of a cute woodsy bent with like a little bit of a fire theme to it. And the goal is to provide those resources to all of our folks within that community in a way that they can push them out. And even we call it white labeling, so where they can add logos. So if it's a specific fire district or organization, they can add their own logo so that it's also branded in partnership with. So we're working to do that right now because just understanding that we're all in this together and knowing that our members are having to work with their local, whether they're, you know, depending on where they're at, whether they're volunteer, whether they're full-time fire departments and others within the fire community, we want to make sure that, again, we're making it easy for everyone to share the resources locally. So if you go to batterysafetynow.org, which I can just drop in the chat, if you go there, there are a bunch of resources. So the other thing we have asked our partners, and this is all partners, again, I talked about the entire value chain. We've asked that if you all identify things that you would like to see from us, but it doesn't exist, we're happy to create it because I talked a little bit about how this came together and how important it was to to me as a communicator and someone who understands how important this issue is, to capture the zeitgeist. So, few things can do that anymore. I spoke at Waste Expo, and the question I asked the audience during the panel was, like, how many of you grew up with 3 to 5 TV stations? And everybody watched the same thing, and everybody talked about it the next day. It doesn't work that way anymore. And we've got hundreds of forms of media that we're all taking in on a daily basis. So this idea that you're going to be able to get your message across to a large section of the population across the country is it's daunting as a communicator. So Woodsy Owl, there are some great marketing campaigns happening from municipalities, from all these states, from municipalities. And my challenge to them is, number one, my job is to communicate and market, right? That's what I've been doing for 25 years. I'm working with other professionals that have that ability to go out and create things that will engage the public. And I've done the research behind it. And the challenge that I've got with these other campaigns is, it's great. The content's great. Nobody's going to see it. And unless you've got a hook, and Woodsy's our hook, right?
Mhm.
Forest Service is pushing it out. Forest Service has great reputation as an agency. Smokey Bear is so well known. Woodsy was until he disappeared in the early 90s. Like, the opportunity for us to capture the zeitgeist exists. And so the more people using Woodsy and as a tool to reach out to the community, the more likely we are to spread this message and have more people see it. So that's why we're trying to create stuff that can be used by different audiences within our partnership community. And that's why we are asking you, if you need something, to reach out to us so we can create it, so that we can continue to push the Woodsy skip the bin, and then we can add on to what we have.
Thank you, Jen. If one of the local communities wanted to do a battery recuperation event, do you have anything, maybe advice or something that they could run into that may be unexpected that they could plan for?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge is if you're going to do a take back event, I would definitely say partnering with us and or the battery network is really an important piece of that. And because Illinois specifically has access to more, because it is a state that the battery network, as the pro, so the facilitator of collecting batteries within Illinois, they have a vested interest. They have a goal they're supposed to hit, and it's 3 times the number of batteries they brought in last year through their system. Therefore, they have a vested interest in supporting the work that you guys may be doing to get batteries out of the stream and disposed of correctly. So I would say working with us or working with them, because we can get Woodsy engaged. They show up, and like I said, Illinois, they will be there in a split second. There's not even a question. They'll bring the barrels. You don't have to pay for them. It's all taken care of. So there is, if you go to the website that I dropped in the chat and you go to the events page, there is a form you can fill out. So if there's any interest in doing events, put in a date. Even if you don't know the date, the next step is we reach out to you and we start the conversation and we see where we can schedule it. So there's opportunity, and we're plug and play. We show up with Woodsy, we show up with resources, and basically we just need some volunteers. Like, it's really like an easy process.
Thank you, Jen. If one of the local communities wanted to do a battery recuperation event, do you have anything, maybe advice or something that they could run into that may be unexpected that they could plan for?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge is if you're going to do a take back event, I would definitely say partnering with us and or the battery network is really an important piece of that. And because Illinois specifically has access to more, because it is a state that the battery network, as the pro, so the facilitator of collecting batteries within Illinois, they have a vested interest. They have a goal they're supposed to hit, and it's 3 times the number of batteries they brought in last year through their system. Therefore, they have a vested interest in supporting the work that you guys may be doing to get batteries out of the stream and disposed of correctly. So I would say working with us or working with them, because we can get Woodsy engaged. They show up, and like I said, Illinois, they will be there in a split second. There's not even a question. They'll bring the barrels. You don't have to pay for them. It's all taken care of. So there is, if you go to the website that I dropped in the chat and you go to the events page, there is a form you can fill out. So if there's any interest in doing events, put in a date. Even if you don't know the date, the next step is we reach out to you and we start the conversation and we see where we can schedule it. So there's opportunity, and we're plug and play. We show up with Woodsy, we show up with resources, and basically we just need some volunteers. Like it's really like an easy process.
Awesome. Very good. I just want to give one more chance to anyone in the audience to ask further questions, because it's a great resource that we have to bring those messages and the take back opportunities to Illinois. Rosemary?
Yeah, I know your concentration is basically lithiums. If someone approaches you and asks how to dispense of their AA, AAA, 9 volts, what kind of reply are you giving to them about that?
So actually all these take back events, those are all batteries that are taken. And if you go to the events page, you'll also see information about what's accepted. And all of the alkalines, and there's a bunch of other chemistries as well. We're focused on the lithium ion because those are the thermal runaway. Those are the ones causing the fires. Those are the ones that we're really worried about. But again, we go back to Illinois. You guys have a battery EPR law that was passed that says that all batteries, with the exception, I believe, of car batteries, those have a very specific niche place that can be, because they can go back to any like car auto parts store, those kind of things. But all the other rechargeables and alkalines and other chemistries are accepted at our take back events. So that part's easy. The other thing is the battery search function on the website. You can actually sort by battery type. So that also helps as well, because we don't take back bike batteries, but there are a ton of places within any fairly densely populated area that do, because those bike shops that actually sell electric bikes, they actually also take the batteries back.
Thank you for that, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone else has a question, please raise your hand or unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask. Just want to make sure we get everybody's questions answered while we have Jen with us. All right. I'm not seeing anything. JC, do you have any other thing to add for the group?
I don't. I appreciate everybody being here. And if you missed any part of this presentation, or if you know someone who wanted to be on this presentation that was not able to attend today, we are going to put this on our Learning Lab live page at sfm.illinois.gov/Illinois CRR, and you'll be able to view this presentation there. And Jen, we really appreciate everything that you've done with us. We're looking forward to partnering with you. And those of you that are joining us, we talked about this yesterday at a conference in Ohio, the importance of building partnerships, the importance of making CRR scalable in your community, whether that could be a battery take back event that is a small scale or it's a big scale event that works for you. So again, it's just about building those partnerships, and we're looking forward to continuing to build our partnerships at Illinois CRR.
See, Betty is asking if you could add that link into the chat.
Which one?
Where the video will live, the recorded video.
I can do that. Betsy, I'll put that in here for you.
Mark, I saw you light up. Did you have anything that you needed or anything you wanted to ask?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Just
you.
want to make sure. All right, JC's got the link up there. Also, we'll put it up on our social media So if you go to Illinois CRR on our Facebook page or the OSFM, I'm sure JC will be posting it up there on the Illinois State Fire Marshal page. And Jen, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate your help and definitely looking forward to working more with you as this year progresses.
Thank you so much for having me, and look forward to working with all of you as well.